Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. This is the December 10th, Thursday edition of our Carolina weather video here, and I think we're finally getting a little bit better agreement, possibly, with our weekend storm system that'll move through. And a big blast of true Arctic air, the first pure Arctic air mass of the season, moving on into the region today. Lots to talk about here. Let's go through it here on the video. Let's start off with a look at the radar here across the southeast. Some lingering showers through Florida and Georgia, up to just off the coast of Wilmington, and that's advancing eastward and away from our area. A lot of lake effect snow occurring this morning, a really heavy lake effect snow band hammering Buffalo, New York as I'm cutting this video. There's other fingers of lake effect snow downwind of Lake Michigan and Superior up there around various spots of the Great Lakes region. The Great Lakes still relatively warm. This is a true discharge of pure Arctic air moving in, and that's creating some very intense bands of lake effect snow. Now I know some of the graphics may be tough to see on this specific panel here, but these are actual current air temperatures. And again, this is pure Arctic air. There are some places up there in the Dakotas and northwestern Minnesota that are 20 degrees plus below zero for actual air temperatures. And notice single digits now extending as far as Chicago down into northern parts of Oklahoma. And that Arctic air is really plunging southeastward and moving right on into the eastern United States. There's the reason why. Huge upper air trough, and this is, again, pure Arctic air all the way from really the pole regions, North Pole regions, all the way down into the eastern part of the United States. And this is going to be a serious blast of Arctic air in a lot of places. Now, as we get out and the weekend unfolds, the Arctic air will still be in place. This is a look at the upper air chart for 1 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning. And what you have here, several little disturbances in this upper level flow that are rippling our way. Each one of those could produce some precip around. And with that Arctic air around, that could cause some issues. Let's get into it. First of all, today, still a little breezy, not nearly the issues with wind today we had yesterday, but still some breeziness certainly around, maybe some gusts at 20 or 30 miles an hour. A lot of sunshine though today, some high clouds, but a lot of sun getting through that high level cloud cover around the region where it is in place. And the afternoon highs today only in the upper 40s to at best low 50s in most spots. And then a cold one tonight. That Arctic high pressure settling in will be all the way down toward the lower 20s for lows tonight. And tomorrow, a lot of sunshine, although we could begin to see some high clouds creeping back in later in the day tomorrow for Friday, but only low 40s for highs tomorrow, again into the 20s tomorrow night. And I want to show you this. Again, this is true Arctic air. These are the dew point temperatures off of the GFS. This is early Friday afternoon, and we're talking single-digit dew points, and I would not be shocked at all if some Piedmont spots saw sub-zero dew point temperatures as we went through the middle part of the day on Friday. Now this is a cold, very, very dry Arctic air mass. Now let's go out to the weekend. This is Saturday, and this is the 6Z run of the GFS, the latest one I have in my hand here. 6Z run of the GFS, and this is valid 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. And what the setup here is you still have this Arctic area of high pressure centered just off to our north, and a very clear indication of cold air damming setting itself up. And so as you see this precip moving into North Georgia and into South Carolina, a lot of that will be of the wintry variety. And let's go out 6 more hours. This is 7 o'clock in the evening. And this sure has the look of an icy scenario from northeast Georgia up into the upstate of South Carolina, and that precip begins to spread then into North Carolina Saturday evening and Saturday night. This is 1 a.m. Sunday morning. And a pretty good amount of precipitation here, pushing into the Piedmont zones of North Carolina and still back into the upstate of South Carolina, really all of South Carolina, but of greatest concern would be the upstate due to the temperatures. This is the straight model product. What it's forecasting for 2-meter temperatures are basically surface temperatures at 1 a.m. Sunday morning. And what you're looking at here is this shade of blue right here. That is what the GFS is indicating as the freezing line. And a lot of times models are not cold enough with these wedging type of scenarios. And then the precip begins to pull out Sunday morning. Now, let's get some of the other modeling. I think we're finally getting some agreement here. This is the Canadian. I'll show you the Canadian more in depth here in just a second. It really bears out the potential here. This is the Canadian, 7 o'clock in the morning Sunday. Very, very clear indication of that cold air damming. The parent high has retreated up into the New England states, but still that is a fresh fetch of northeasterly winds keeping that wedge locked in place. The European, this is the 850 millibar chart. You're not looking at any surface pressures here, but what I want to show you, this is 7 o'clock in the evening Saturday. That moisture begins to creep into the Piedmont zones of North Carolina Saturday evening. UK Met, there is Saturday evening. It pushes that initial surge of moisture off to the south, but still you get the general idea, that cold air damming configuration in place. Now, let me show you this neat looking run of the Canadian because it really tells a story. I'll try to get these timestamps described to you here as best I can. All right, this is 1 o'clock in the morning Sunday. And again, cold air damming clearly evident here. And the shades of red, that is where the Canadian is indicating freezing rain. The pink is actually a little burst of snow as the precip initially moves in. So that's 1 a.m. This is 4 a.m. Icy scenario from the upstate up into many of the Piedmont zones of North Carolina. This is 7 a.m. You can clearly pick up that wedge locked into place, and that's showing some ice all the way down to northeast Georgia, parts of the upstate, and all the way up through Charlotte and the Triad. Still some snow up into the Virginia zones, maybe back toward the northern foothills, and that wedge holding firm. This is 10 o'clock in the morning Sunday. Still some ice. The cold air damming regions of North Carolina down into the upstate of South Carolina. And finally, as the precip ends, the wedge warms up, or the air mass warms up enough that it might kick over to rain. But again, by that point in time, most of the precip has fallen. Now, that is just a model run. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I think we're getting a little better agreement here in how the timing of this is going to play out. We see North Georgia, South Carolina begin to see that precip move in later on into the day Saturday. And there certainly could be some ice involved there. And then for North Carolina, we see that precip pushing in Saturday evening and Saturday night. And it looks like, due to the very dry nature of this air mass I showed you, and this being a true Arctic air mass, it sure looks like there is the potential for at least a period of freezing rain. Maybe some sleet mixed in, or maybe a brief period of snow initially, but mainly I'm concerned about freezing rain with this. And we will just have to see exactly the timing of this. Timing is everything. Exactly when the precip moves in, exactly how dry the air mass is when the precip moves in, and exactly how heavy the precip is. All that will determine exactly where our temperature lands as that precip begins to fall. But I think there is the potential for some accumulation of ice in those favorite cold air damming regions of North Carolina down to South Carolina and northeast Georgia, mainly from North Georgia and the upstate of South Carolina beginning Saturday afternoon, especially those Saturday night into Sunday morning for the North Carolina zones. And that is going to be something we're closely monitoring for you. Out beyond that, the precip pulls away Sunday. Monday, a much milder day, and it looks like a mainly dry day. Tuesday, next system moves through. At this point in time, it looks mainly like a rain-producing system, but that'll depend on how the northern and southern branches phase. But it looks mainly like a rain-producing system and a fresh discharge of Arctic air behind that one that settles in here for the second half of next work week. And then all the way up, I want to show you Christmas morning on the 6Z, or actually this is the 0Z GFS. Storm system off the coast, looks cool and dry on this run. One of the previous runs yesterday of the GFS had snow moving in Christmas, but again, that range, you can't take any specifics. But I do think the general idea here, one more chart for you. This is the European on the left, GFS on the right, upper air pattern. And certainly cold through the weekend. And while there could be at least some relaxation of the cold briefly through the mid-month period, I don't think it's going to last too long, and here's one of the reasons why. The indices all indicating the cold air is going to try to stay here more often than not, and notice lots of troughing on both models through Asia, Eastern Asia, and that oftentimes teleconnects to a lot of cold air in the eastern United States. So any relaxation, I think, of the cold air will be brief, and we'll get right back into a pretty cold pattern for the end of the month. So if you like cold air, looks like December is going to be your month, and we'll see how that then extends into the rest of winter. So that's it for today's edition of the video. Hopefully getting a little better handle on how things unfold this weekend. I'll have a new edition of the video posted for you bright and early tomorrow morning. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great Thursday. God bless.